Hello and welcome to today's video. Now I am so excited to be bringing you this video at this moment, and today what we are going to be covering is how to install ERPNext version 14, and we are going to be installing it in the newest Ubuntu, which is Ubuntu 22.04. Now here on my blog I have just completed writing the step-by-step guide that you can use. And by the way, this is also what we are going to be using today, so you can go ahead and take your time to read through it. I have prepared it very keenly just to make sure that I don't miss any steps or any stages. Go through it very keenly, look at the requirements from up here, and then of course you will be ready to get going. Also note the requirements that are needed in terms of software. Make sure that you have very keenly looked at the version numbers, so that you are not going to get stuck along the way. Now without spending so much time, let me also talk about the VPS that we are going to be using here. I have just deployed a droplet. I have a new droplet on DigitalOcean here that we are going to be using. So the first thing that we're going to be doing is I will go ahead and actually destroy this droplet, but I'm not going to actually destroy it completely, because if I destroy from here I'm going to lose everything including the IP, and I don't want to lose the IP. So I'll just reinstall Ubuntu and make sure that this is Ubuntu 22.04. Note that Ubuntu will stop supporting 20.04 in a few years, so of course we are going to go with the most current image, and that's it. Then I can rebuild this. Now as that rebuilds, now of course we can be talking of about other things. And by the way, before that, when the Ubuntu image rebuilds here, is going to send to my email a new password that I am going to be using to log in. Let me just delete that, that's not part of it. And then we can go ahead and change that password to whatever you like it to be. That is almost done. Now as that continues, I want to introduce you to a company that I have joined and I'm working with. It's called Upeosoft. Upeosoft is a consultant. It's an ERP consultant and focuses mostly on ERPNext. Now what are we doing here? Here we are working with all requirements revolving around ERPNext, like installations, like customizations, integrations with both hardware and other software, and basically anything that you would like us to help you within ERPNext. You can hit us in our inbox anytime. Whether your project is a big project or you just have a small project where you just need us to help you with installation, we are willing to listen. We are enthusiastic about ERPNext and the Frappe framework. So you can go ahead and check that out. You can also look at other articles we have on the Code with Karani website. There's a lot of content there that you can use, and also you can refer to our YouTube videos for the same. This is now almost done, and it is done. You can see that has given us a success message here. Droplet has been rebuilt, and now that means this droplet is completely empty. If we go to our inbox here, I'm going to receive an email, and there you go. The email is here, gives me the name of the droplet. It's version 14, of course. That is how I named my droplet. You can see here. And then here we also have the IP address of my droplet there. And then you have the root user, the username, which is root. You're going to be using root. And then we have the default password. Now the droplet is going to force us to change this password when we log in. So this is just a temporary password to allow us access into the server. So let's go ahead and do that. I will quickly grab my terminal here, and this is Terminator. I'm using Terminator here. Let me make this a little bit larger so that you don't struggle seeing what I'm doing. This is Terminator, and Terminator, I love Terminator because it gives me the ability to split my windows as many times as possible, and then I can work with so many or as many windows as I want without having to stop the services or open different tabs here. Perfect. I can work on one screen and I see what is happening in each of these. For instance, I can split vertically. I can see what is happening here as I do something else here. That's very important for developers. So here to access my SSH here, or my DigitalOcean droplet, I'm going to do SSH. Then remember the user is root. and then the password that they have provided me is not the password, by the IP address is this one. Then I'm going to be providing it there. So the port, you don't need to provide the port number, it will use the default port. If I do an enter here, we can see that we are getting an issue here that the keygen has changed, and the beauty of this is that it provides us the command that we need to run here. So the command that is provided here, copy it as is without changing anything, paste it here and rerun, and now that has been reset. And now if I go back to my command, that is ssh root at the IP address provided, this is supposed to succeed now if all goes well. And yes, you can just provide this yes, and then it's going to ask you for the password. And the password that it wants here, remember, is the password that DigitalOcean sent us here when we reset our droplet. That is the password that we are going to be providing here. So right click and paste, and now I can proceed, and this is supposed to give me access to the server. But note, this is asking me for the current password. Remember that I told you that the password that was sent here, this password here, is a temporary password. So we cannot continue using the droplet with this password. We will need to change it to something else. So let me go ahead and do that. So this is the current password. I will paste it again, and then I will provide my new password. So I'm going to copy my new password from another screen that I am using here. So let me copy that, and then I'll paste it here, and then it is supposed to, it will ask me to confirm that that is actually the password that I want to use. I'll paste again, and that's it. We are inside our server. If you look at this, the server has nothing. We do not have anything set up in this server. So if you try to go to something like if you do sudo something like Frappe, there is nothing like Frappe user. Sudo hyphen and then Frappe, you can see this user does not exist. So let me clear this, and now we can go ahead and actually start our installation. So let me go back, or let me head over to my blog here, Code with Karani, and this article. So this is what I want us to use today. Now go ahead and read the requirements here. The server I have here, or the droplet that I have here, is 4 Gs of RAM. And that is why I have recommended that you use 4 Gs here. 4 Gs down here. That is what is recommended. That is what is not going to give you headaches. So make sure you use that. The first thing that we're going to do here is to do an update and an upgrade to our server. So I'll copy this command as it is, and then I'll paste it over here, and then I'll run it. That is supposed to go ahead and grab any update that it is going to find, and then it is going to install that on our servers. So apparently that is done. The next thing that we are going to be doing is to do an upgrade here. So let me copy that and paste it here, and then run it. And that is again going to go ahead and do any upgrades for packages that you will find, and then we are going to be good to go. Let's give that a couple of minutes to finish. And you can see here it's updating a number of packages like snapd and all that. All right. As that continues, maybe I can just grab some piece of music here. You can see it's almost 1:30 a.m. here. So I'm going to grab some piece of music so that we don't get so lonely here. So let me do YouTube, and then I'm going to look for, and by the way, I do not have copyright to this music. I'm going to do country music. I love country music, so I'm going to be having that. And let me get this by Kenny Rogers or Don Williams. Don Williams was one of the person I loved so much.
Digital Skills for Africa offers over 40 free online courses. Learn.
Yeah, that's okay. When you get these prompts, you can just go ahead and press enter. Don't worry about those. Let me actually close this music. I don't need it. This is supposed to finish now so that we can go ahead. That is done. Perfect. So the next thing that we're going to be doing now, remember we have just ran these two commands, is to create a bench user. Now you can go ahead and read the purpose of a bench user here. I don't want to go into the explaining that because I don't want the video to be too long. I will also not be explaining other things as we go along so much. Please just make sure, because I'm using this tutorial that I have written here, I have explained this in detail here. Please make sure you read them. But let me go ahead and add this user, and also make sure to replace this everything in brackets. Everything in brackets replace with your own information. So I'll just copy sudo add user, and then I will provide the name of my user, and I like to use the name Frappe. Please note that the name of my user is Frappe, so I'll do that. This asks me for my password. You can see here I have used the command sudo add user. Now in Linux we have add user and you have user add. The difference is that add user gives you the possibility to interact with the shell here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually provide the password to this user, and then I'm going to retype the same password. Full name, we can say you can type your name here or whatever you want to type. This one I'm just going to provide 1 1 and then 1, and this one I just leave it blank, and yes, the information that I provided is accurate. So I have added a user now. That's successful. The next thing, that user needs to be added in the sudo as group. Remember that we said that we are not going to be using the root user again, but there are some commands that you're going to be needing, especially when installing packages that will require sudo access. So what we are going to do is that we are going to add the user that we have added here into the sudoers list. So we are going to go ahead and do that. So we provide, of course, the name of our user at the end here. The name of our user is Frappe. So here you're going to provide the name of the user that you have created in the previous stage. And then, of course, we are now going to switch to that user. So that is just su to Frappe. And you can see now here, the user that is logged in here is Frappe. You can see up here, if you look here, we had root, and even if you go up here, we have root. So the user that was logged in is root. Now we have Frappe logged in. All right, let me clear the screen so that you have some area. The next thing is to change the directories to the home directory of that currently logged in user, which in our case is the Frappe user. So I'll just cd to home, and then I'll go to Frappe. So if you look at home directory, let me go back a little bit here. If you look at this home and you list, you can see here we have just one user, the user that has been added. If we added more users, those users are going to be here. The reason why we need to change directory change directory to Frappe. And what I'm doing here, I'm just pressing F, and then I press tab, and then it completes that. Now, if you look at this, when we were in the home directory, here we were getting home here. When I change the directory to Frappe, I am not getting any directory up down here. But you can confirm that you are in the home Frappe directory by doing pwd. Pwd is short for print working directory, and you can see here you are in home Frappe directory. So let me clear that again, and then we can go back and continue with our tutorial. We are here, and this the red highlight here just tells you to make sure that you have changed Frappe user to the name of your, or the username of the user you want to create. An example, sudo add user Frappe. This is the one that I used. The next thing is now to start installing packages. Remember, we are inside our user now, and you can see here we are using sudo. If we did not add sudo to the group here, we could not have managed to do sudo commands here. So that is why we needed to add sudo there, and now I could go ahead and copy this. This just installs Git, because we are going to be using Git, for instance, to pull the applications from, provide the password, the applications from GitHub, that is ERPNext, Frappe, and other applications that we are going to be needing. We are going to be using Git to pull them, because ERPNext has hosted them on GitHub. So the next thing is to install Python. Note here that we are installing Python 3.10. So please don't get confused and install any other version of Python that is below 3.10, because that is surely going to give you issues. ERPNext version 14 relies heavily on Python 3.10, so make sure that you have this Python installed. So let me go ahead and copy this command, and that is what I'm going to, sorry, I hit Opera there, so I'm going to go ahead and run this here. So paste it and run it. This is going to go ahead and grab a number of packages, so I'm going to be providing a yes there to allow it to actually grab that. This is the Opera that I clicked by mistake. I'm going to just close it. Let me just quit it. So this thing is installing all the packages that we have set up here. You can see here we have a number of them. Python 3 dev, we have Python 3.10 dev, we have setup tools, we have pip, and also we have dist utils. So we have a number of things that it is going to be getting there and installing in our application, in our server. Now note that I mentioned this again. If this thing gives you these prompts, don't even think about it, just click on enter. Don't think about it at this stage, unless if you know exactly what you want to do. That is successful, and now we can go ahead and proceed. The next command is install a Python virtual environment. Now again, I have explained there what a virtual environment is. You can go and ahead and read that, but you're going just to go and go ahead and copy this and paste it here, and now we can run that, and that is going to go ahead and install our virtual environment. Make sure to provide a Y here when you are prompted, so that that actually goes ahead and installs that. You can skip that by providing an hyphen and Y at the end of that command. For instance, if you wanted to avoid that here, we can just do that, and that is going to go ahead and install that without needing to prompt us. Again, here we can look at this. This is now installing software properties common. This again is very critical and very important in our system, so we are going to copy this command, look at it here again to see what its use is, and paste it here and run the command, and apparently that is already satisfied, so we are good. The next thing we are going to do is now install Mariadb. Now here you need to pay a little bit more attention. There are a few things that you are going to be setting up here that require a little bit of kind of techie knowledge, but don't worry, I'm going to take you through them slowly and on a step-by-step basis. So we provide a yes there to confirm that, and that is at 50% and almost 100%. When that completes, the next thing that we are going to be doing here is install Redis server. Now note that we have installed Mariadb, but we have not yet configured it. We are going to be configuring it in a few. You can see down here. I'm going to be showing you this. So we install Mariadb, and then we install Redis server. This is the server that ERPNext and Frappe framework uses. So we are going to be installing it. Now put it at the back of your mind that we installed Mariadb server in the client, but we have not yet configured them. We are going to be configuring them in the next few minutes. So again, when prompted here, just press on enter. Don't worry about that. That was a command on Mariadb. So we now copy the Redis server one, and again we provide a yes there. And like I said, if you don't want to keep getting these prompts, just append an hyphen and Y at the end of this command here, up here. You just append an hyphen and Y, and that command is going to run without needing to prompt you. So this is now at 30%, and again we have another prompt. Just click on enter, and we are good to go. The next command we are going to be running here, or the next things that we are going to be installing, is the other packages that are needed. Now here you can see that we have something like wk-html to PDF. This is what ERPNext uses to produce PDF reports. And then we have another app here like libmysql client, also used in other stuff. And we also, this again, wk-html to PDF also is used in other things that you can go ahead and look at their documentation and see what exactly it is used for. So we're going to grab those two. We can even grab them at the same time, run them here, provide a yes there. So this is running the first command. Let's wait and let's give it time to finish, and then we are going to check which command it has ran. I am going to show you how to check that. So this is going ahead and grabbing a few things here. You can see them running as they are getting installed. Fonts cache, you can see also fonts is installed in that command. And we are almost there. Again, just click on enter and you're good to go. Now, which command ran? All right, again, that's another prompt. Just provide a yes, and that is again fetching stuff. You can see here it's telling us the following items are going to be installed. Again, just press and enter and it's almost done. So just confirm that the two commands ran. If you press the back key, you can see that that command was been ran, and also the WK to HTML has been ran. Perfect. The next thing that we are going to be doing now, these ones are done, is to configure MySQL. I really wanted us to get here because so many people get confused in this stage. You don't need to get confused. Just make sure you follow me along with me, and we are going to get this right. So copy this command as it is. You don't need to change anything. Copy it and paste it here. Press on enter. Now look at the prompts here. Enter current password for root. Now you don't know the password for root. You have not set it up anywhere. But the password that this is actually expecting is the password of your server. So the root password for your server. Note again that I said the root password for your server is what is needed here. So I'm going to copy it from where I have it. Remember, I copied mine somewhere, and I will paste it here. And then it's going to ask me whether I want to switch to Unix socket authentication. Make sure you press an yes here. We need that. So yes, enter. The next question is going to be change root password for. Do you want to change the root password? Yes, of course I want to change the root password. And then I'm going to provide the root password here. So I'm going to go ahead and type my root password. Make sure you type your root password as well. That's going to ask me to repeat or re-enter the password, just to cross-check that I know what I have entered. You can see up here it's telling me that it has successfully changed that. And now here it's asking me whether you want to remove anonymous users. Of course, remove anonymous users. You don't need them in the system, in the server. Then here the choice largely depends on you, whether you want to disallow root login remotely. Do you want your root user to be able to access your database or your databases remotely? If you want that, type a no. If you do not want any kind of remote access to your database, make sure here you provide a yes. I don't mind about that. So remove test databases. Of course, remove the test databases there, and then they have been dropped. And then you can now reload, provide another yes here to reload the privileges table. Perfect. So that has been done and has been set up completely. The next stage now here, after that, remember this just explanation of how you're going to do that. The next stage is to edit the MySQL configuration file. Again, this MySQL or Mariadb requires that we enter this. Actually, it's not Mariadb, but ERPNext requires that we have these settings for it to work smoothly with Mariadb. So I'm going to paste that here. The command that I have copied, remember, is the sudo nano etc and then all that. So enter. That's going to go and pull out the settings file. Scroll all the way to the bottom here. Make sure you're at the bottom of the file, and then go ahead and copy again the code that I have provided here exactly as is, and paste it on or inside this file. This is where I have pasted it at the bottommost part of this file. So again, this is nano. I'm going to save my file here. So to save, I have pressed Ctrl and O, and then I've pressed enter. You can see it's telling me that it has written that 8 lines, and then I'm just going to press Ctrl and X. So to save that is Ctrl and O, enter, and then Ctrl and X to exit from that file. So those changes have been made, and now we are just going to restart our MySQL server to make sure that those changes, oh sorry, I didn't mean to split, to make sure that those changes have been effected. So, and put that there. The password for, oh, this one has logged me out. You can see our user here is Frappe. This one has logged me out. So let me just remove that, and then I'm going to log back into the server. Sorry about that. I don't know why I was kicked out. So let me actually clear this, and then log back into the server, SSH, then the name of my server. And then I'm going to take my password and provide it here. That's saying that's not the name of my my root user. Let me just close this terminal. Sometimes it behaves like that, and then I reopen it. I'm just going to make this a little bit larger again so that you don't struggle your eyes, and then I'll do SSH root at, and then I'm going to grab the IP address. Remember, this IP address is also in the email that we were sent. It's up here, 68.183.101 and 105. Here you go, enter, and then the password that I provided to for my root user, I'm going to put it here. And now that hopefully it's going to allow us in, and yes, we are in. So sometimes when you see you have provided the correct password here and still fails, just close the terminal window and open another one. So remember, we are going to go into our Frappe user, because that is where we want to be, and then we are going to go into the home directory of this user, and then make sure you're in Frappe. And now here, this is where you are running our command. So Control and X. The command that we were running, we are going to repeat this again from scratch. Of course, it's to restart MySQL. So we want to copy that and restart MySQL. Just make sure that everything is good here. The password for Frappe user, you provided this somewhere. So I'm going to enter my Frappe user password. And if you see this, you know that the MySQL has been restarted successfully if you don't see an error. To confirm that, you can just do service MySQL status, and that is going to present you with a green button there and an active status here. That is perfect. So again, I'll press Control and C, or Control, yeah, just to get out of that process. So that's good. The next step is now to install curl, node, npm, and yarn. These are very, very important in ERPNext. Of course, these are what provides the, for instance, the front end is done, not the front end, sorry, but the notifications are done using node. npm, of course, is the package manager, and yarn, and then, of course, we have curl. So let's go ahead and first of all install curl. Mostly you'll find that curl is already installed, but it's important to confirm. Of course, it's installed here. If curl was not installed, it could have been installed there. And then here, we are going to install node. And again, node, we need at least node version 16. This is what is going to work seamlessly with our ERPNext. So again, I have provided these versions here in a way that, of course, you are not going to miss them. So paste that there. That's going to go ahead and do its magic. And then we are going to grab the this other piece of code, paste it here, and run it. And that is again going to go ahead and do its magic. And then we go ahead and now install node. So those dependencies have been added, and now we can go ahead and paste that there, nvm install 1650, and that is successful. Perfect. We have node, and we can actually confirm that by doing node -- version, and that gives you version 1650. That is the one that we specified up here. You can see there. Good. The next thing that you're going to be installing is now npm. This is the package manager for node, and we can put it here and run it. And this is going to again go ahead and do its thing, provide a yes there when you are prompted so that it can execute that. And that is doing its thing there. There you go. 87%, 97, and we are almost there. Unpacking. All right, here you have that node. A lot of things are happening here. Remember, this is npm that we are installing there, so it's coming with a lot of stuff. When prompted, again, just press on enter, and this is completing the process. So it's completing here, completed. The next thing that we're going to do is now yarn. So we have npm then yarn. So just copy this command as it is here, paste it here, and run it, and that is going to go ahead and grab yarn for you. So one added package, that is done. And then now we're installing Frappe. So here we have Frappe bench. So pip install Frappe bench. Now remember, Frappe bench is what we are going to be using to manage Frappe framework, and of course ERPNext is built on Frappe framework. So Frappe bench is very, very important here. You can see it's collecting Frappe bench, and there you go, it's almost done. It is done. And then of course don't worry about these warnings. Oh, sorry about that. The next thing that we're going to do now is to initialize the Frappe, and note that this command is getting Frappe bench version 14. So this has to be version 14. If you want to install version 13, of course this was changing to version 13, but we need version 14 here. So we can go ahead and paste that command here. You can see down here, and then we run it, and this is going to go ahead and actually initialize a directory called Frappe bench on our current directory. So if you don't want this to be called Frappe bench, of course you can call it whatever you want to call it. So you can do bench init Frappe branch version 14, and then you specify the name of the directory that you want initialized here. You can call it ERPNext, you can call it Frappe, you can call it the name of your company. This basically depends on you. It must not be Frappe bench. This is just a name of a directory. What must remain like this is this other part. So let's give it time to go ahead and grab those packages and of course install them on our system. So when you see this thing, it's installing Frappe here, as you can see here. Of course, the first application that we are going, our instance is going to need to be needing is the Frappe application, and then of course we are going to be installing other applications like the payments application, like maybe the HR application, like ERPNext application. Remember, again, ERPNext is an application, and any other application that you may be needing, like maybe manufacturing, something like maybe healthcare, an application like agriculture, and all those applications. So that is what we are doing here currently. So it's grabbing the Frappe application as the first application that we need at the foundation, or as the foundation, so that we can build on it and bring on board other applications. So we can give that a little bit of time. Do not worry, or do not get worried by these warnings. Our application will work fine even with them. So now this is now using yarn, the yarn that we installed just a few minutes ago, to do some other things here, and you can also see it is using node in the background. There you go, almost done. And yes, Redis cache. Of course, that's a warning that it cannot connect to that. Don't worry about that again. And we are done. Here we are presented with a success message saying Frappe bench is initialized successfully. If you list this directory now, ls, let me just clear this. If you do an ls here, you can see we have a directory here now called Frappe bench. Let's go back to our tutorial here, and the next command, of course, is to get into that Frappe bench directory. So again, I'm going to go and cd into the Frappe bench directory here. We are inside. If you list this directory now, you can see these are files and directories that we are familiar with in ERPNext. The next thing is to change the ownership of that directory. Very important. So we are going to be copying this, and the Frappe user here, remember, is the user that you created. So the user that I created was called Frappe. So my user is Frappe. I'm going to run that, and they of course now the permissions of that have been changed. Let me close this. And then the next thing that we're going to do now is to create a site. Now in Frappe, of course, you can read this again. Sites are very important. So bench new site, and then the name of your site. Here the site is where we are going to be installing all the other applications like ERPNext, maybe an app like healthcare or any other apps that we need. We are going to be installing them on a site. And remember that also ERPNext being a multi-tenant application, or a multi-tenant enabled application, sites are what are used to manage databases and also manage multi-tenancy. So a site is very critical, and we are now going to go ahead and create our first site. So bench new site, and then the name of our site here, we can give it upeosoft.com. That is the name of our website. We can run that. Again, this upeosoft.com is totally dependent on you. Now this requires us to enter our MySQL root password. Remember, when we were setting up MySQL app here, when we were prompted to here, remember this stage, when we were prompted to enter or to whether we want to change our MySQL root password, we accepted to change and we entered a password. So that password is what is required here, and now I'm going to go ahead and provide what I entered as my password. And if you provide that password correctly, this application is going to go ahead now and start installing Frappe. And if you see this, you are successful. The password that you provided there is accepted and it is correct. If you don't get it, then you have forgotten the password that you provided and you need to remember it. Or you can go ahead and reset your root user or MySQL root user password so that you can be able to run this command. So we are going to give this a few more minutes to complete, and then we will be able to proceed. There you go. The password that you are required to enter here, it's saying set administrator password. Now you may be wondering which administrator is this. When you set up your instance for the first time, the user that you can use to log in is always called administrator. And administrator is like the overall manager of the application. The administrator can create other users, can basically do anything within the system. So this password, this user requires a password. So this is the password that you are required to provide here. So it is the password that you are going to use to log in as the administrator. So we can go ahead and provide that. I have provided mine. Of course, it is going to go ahead and ask you to confirm it. I have confirmed. And now you can see here, it's of course telling us that scheduler is disabled. Don't worry about that. This is now successful. The next step you're going to have here, remember we have been initializing a site, and now if we check our directories here, we have a directory called sites, and we come into sites. If we come into sites directory here, you can see we have upeosoft.com. There you go. Let me get out again to bench directory where we were, so that we can run our next command. So our next command here is bench get app payments. Now ERPNext, here we are now in the stage of getting other ERPNext, of course, and other apps. These are just the applications we want in our instance. But note, in version 14, currently, the payments application is required by ERPNext to run. So even before you get ERPNext, make sure you get this being the first application. This is where many people are getting frustrated. Make sure you get the payments app, I repeat, as the first application even before you get ERPNext here. So I'm going to copy that command and paste it here. And now that is going to go ahead and grab the payments application for me and put it into my instance here. And that is finishing. And now we can go ahead and now grab ERPNext. Now there is something I want you to note in grabbing ERPNext. Let's first of all make sure this one is successful. Then we are going to talk a little bit about how you grab ERPNext. Again, that is becoming a nightmare to many people. Version 14 has changed a lot. Look at how you are grabbing version 14 here. Here you are just providing ERPNext. So ERPNext has been built like an app. Initially, when we were doing, for instance, if I open another tab here from my blog and I check how we used to install, for instance, version 13, you're going to notice that here you are providing a URL to the GitHub repository. But here now we don't need to do that. I don't know why this one is taking forever to load. I think it's also tired. It's past 2 a.m. here. So anyway, we can proceed. That is something that I needed to point out. It has loaded. Let me just make sure I show you that. Install ERPNext. Let me do 20.04 so that it takes us there directly. So you can basically search anything from my blog here using this search form, and it's going to take you directly to the article that you are searching. It's normally not this slow. I think my internet is slowing down for some reason. I don't know, but we are of course going to overcome. So yeah, here you go. You can see here I have another article here for version 20.04. Of course you can install version 13 in 20.04, and if you come down here you can see how we used to grab ERPNext. You can see this bench get app branch version 13 ERPNext, and then you provide the source where you want to get this. Now we don't need this in version 14. Version 14, the only thing we do is just provide the branch and then the name of the app, which is ERPNext. So we are going to copy this and now we are going to run it here. So this completed. So we are going to get ERPNext now. So that is cloning, getting ERPNext, and of course this may take a little bit of time. ERPNext is kind of a big application, so we are going to get it to give it a little bit of time to finish getting it and also installing it onto our bench here. Yeah, that is now moving, using yarn to do its thing. It's now building ERPNext. And we are almost done. Perfect, we are done. You can see done down there. And now the next thing that we are going to be doing, we remember we have ERPNext and we also have the payments application. These two, of course, the payments here is just required because ERPNext depends on it somehow, but all the other applications now in version 14 have been extracted outside, like HRMS. Remember in version 13 and other previous versions, when you installed ERPNext, it came with applications out of the box like HR, payroll, and all those. Now those applications are outside ERPNext, so you can install them only when you need them. For instance, if we wanted HRMS to be on our instance, we just copy this command and run it. If you wanted healthcare, we do the same. So we get we install all the applications that we need. So for this demo, I'm going to leave it minimally. I'm not going to be doing that, but if you need them, of course, grab all the applications you want. And the next thing we're going to do now is to run this other command. This command is the one that is going to grab ERPNext, the one that we just downloaded from GitHub, and install it on our site. Remember the site that we created just a few minutes ago up here. So now this site, we need to install ERPNext on it. Already it has Frappe installed on it by default as an app. The next thing that we need is now ERPNext, so that, because of course this tutorial is about installing ERPNext, if you needed to install something like HRMS, you can see I've given you an example here. If you need HRMS, of course, it's bench site and then the name of your site, and then install app and then the name of the app. So today we are going to be needing only this. So I'm going to copy the ERPNext install code, paste it here, but remember the name of our site is upeosoft.com. So I'm going to remove that here, and then I'm going to say upeosoft.com, and that is it. When I do that, this code is going to grab ERPNext and it's going to install it on top of upeosoft.com site, and it will now be available. Yeah, you can see here it's saying initializing payment custom fields in web form, and then here you have installing ERPNext. Now this payments is what I was talking about when I told you that the payments application is needed. So that's very important that you get it first, so that ERPNext is not going to fail in installation. Now, as this continues to install here, I can tell you about that developer course, the developer course that I am working on. Already, I have another developer course, of course, that you can find on my website here. You can see here I have a number of courses, an API course. Then we have this developer course. Now, this developer course, I did it when I was training a team of developers that needed to be trained on ERPNext. And by the way, we also offer ERPNext and Frappe training services in Code with Karani and also in Upeosoft. So this course, I have received so many requests that I may do another course that is not going to have that's not going to be like a classroom setting like we have here. So I am already in the process of doing that course, and I have launched, if I go to my LinkedIn account, I have launched a place where you can provide me. Let me show you on the Upeosoft page, where you can tell me the courses that you'd like me to cover. You can see this. Here I'm asking you what topics would you like me to cover in the course. You can provide me the courses that you want me to cover in this course for ERPNext developer. So if you see here, share topics here, if you click on this link, it's going to take you to a Google form where you can, of course, there is my contact there, you can connect with me there if you need to, and then here you can provide your your courses, the courses that you want me, or not the courses but the topics that you'd like me to cover in this developer course. So it's just a simple form, just your name, of course, and your last name, the email address, the phone number, it's very important, the country where you are from. I also want to know whether you are a developer, so that I know the courses that are troubling developers and those that are troubling other people, and that way I may even decide to split the course into two, but I really need to know that. And then here you can just provide your courses, and this is a long text field, so here you can provide a lot of information. Here, don't get limited, provide as much information as possible. If you want to copy information from somewhere and paste here, that is fine. Just make sure you give me a lot of information that I can use to break down the course, so that of course it will benefit you and also other people. So I'm looking forward to receiving a lot of responses from you. Already there is a lot of response coming in here. I'm going to be putting that together in the next few days, and then I'm going to release a course in a few weeks time. So make sure if you have topics that you are struggling with, make sure you have added them here. Again, just go to my Upeosoft Limited LinkedIn account. The first post you're going to see there, if it's not the first post, just make sure you look for this image with ERPNext developer course. In the description you have the share topics here. Click on that link, it's going to take you directly to this Google form. So I look forward to that. So here, yes, this is completed. Remember, you are installing ERPNext now on our site, and you know what, that is all you need to do to install ERPNext version 14 on Ubuntu 20.22.04. If now we come here and do a bench start on this server, if we go here and do and paste the bench start command, this is going to go ahead and start our development environment. Now there is something, of course I've given that narration here, you can go ahead and read this, but bench start basically is used for development. If you leave this running on your VPS and then you stop the server and run it again, just know that your instance is not going to be started automatically. You will need every time to do a bench start. Now you don't want to do that. Of course you want, even if the server is off, the moment the server is on, you want your instance to get up with the server, and that is what is called production instance. I'm going to also be showing you how to do that. Of course I have another steps here to do that. I've made sure in this tutorial everything is covered, so don't worry about that. We are going to do it. I just wanted to show you how you can do a development instance here. And now if this is running, you can see it is running here, and again it is telling us where it is running to. So this is our IP address, and then we have port 8000 here. So if I hold control and I click on this, that is going to go ahead and actually launch our instance. Now this, when you see this, I have again covered that on my blog, and this is just an issue with the current site not being set. I think that is not even far away. I think it's just on the home page here. You can see this doesn't exist. If you look at this, I have provided two ways of solving that issue. The first one is, of course, you can watch this video to get it. The second and the easiest one is just to do bench use and then the name of your site. So again, we can go back here. We are going to stop this for now. This is just a bench start, and then we're going to do bench use. And remember, the name of our site here was upeosoft.com. The upeosoft.com, of course, is the company that I work for. So bench use upeosoft.com, and now the current site is set to upeosoft.com. All right. Of course, here you're going to use the name of the site that you want to use as the default site. Now, when I launch that again, and I go back to my URL here and I reload it, I'm expecting that I'm going to see my instance running here, and there you go. There's my instance. This is the ERPNext instance. Now remember that I told you here that we're going to be needing Opera Mini is still running. Let me close it. We are going to be needing the administrator. Now the password that I set there, here you're going to be providing your password. Let me provide my password here and try to log in and verifying. If you see a success here, you are done. And yes, looks like we are inside. Again, don't forget that this is in development mode, so you're going to see a lot of things running here. This is what we use to debug. And here you go. I'm not sure whether this is also, this issue is, the slowness is also coming from my internet, but apparently my internet today is a culprit of so many issues. So here I'll provide my country. I'm in Kenya. Of course, our currency is Kenya shilling. If you don't want to use these time zones, of course, you can change. You can also change the language there. I'm comfortable with English. Now, this next step requires you to provide the first user. Now, the first user, other than, of course, when you set up ERPNext, it comes with the administrator that we set up, the one we just used to log in. It also comes with a guest user, and then it requires you to set up at least one more user. Now, this one more user is what it is asking here in the We Setup wizard. So I'm going to provide my name, and then my email address, and then of course my password. So this is like creating a user. Then I'm going to go to next. The name of the company is Upeosoft Limited, and the company abbreviation, of course, you can change that if it's not that. By default, it will just pick this the first letters, the first characters of this, and append them here. If you're not comfortable with that, you can change. Then I'm going to go to next. And by the way, remember that the characters, or the two characters that are going to be here, 1 or 3 depending on the name you provide here, are going to be appended almost everywhere in your instance. Like the chart of accounts are going to have these abbreviations. So if you're not comfortable with whatever ERPNext provides here, make sure to provide what you are comfortable with. Then your organization, what does it do? This is just about ERPNext consultancy. And then the bank name, I'm just going to provide any bank name here. Chart of accounts, we can have standard or standard with numbers. That again, we can look at it. We can explore the meaning of these two when we are doing another course for business training. And then of course we can also change, view the chart of accounts, and also do this or this. So for now, let me just click on complete the setup, and our instance is almost complete. This something I'd like you to note as this continues, that we are running our instance on a port that is port 8000, and that is what I was explaining here. Let me see where. Here you can see here I'm telling you to visit your IP address and then port 8000, but this port 8000 is not it must not be 8000. 8000 is only when this is your first instance, the first instance that you have installed. If you install the second instance, let me close this to avoid some confusion here. If you install this as a second instance, or if I create another site in development mode, it is going to take port 8001. The other, if you do another installation, is going to take port 8002. So you're going to check from this command here the port that it has provided for you. So the reason I'm running that is because it has given me port 8000. If you run another site, is going to, or another instance is going to provide you port 8001, and that is where you can access your application in development mode. When we deploy a production server here, we will not access this site on a port. We are supposed to eliminate a port and just access our instance only using the IP address. All right. So this is our ERPNext version 14 installed here. If you look at items, for instance, here you can see we have a very nicely designed screen here for adding items. Let me show you. If I edit that, look at that. This is beautiful. ERPNext here have done an amazing piece of work. This is where you provide the details of your item, then inventory is here. So these are in tab format. These, remember, were done as sections down here. They were all of them were created as sections in the previous in version 13 and below, but now we can see them in tab format here, which looks extremely well done. So if these tabs again are dependent, for instance, if I uncheck maintain stock here, you can see some tabs have disappeared because, of course, you do not need inventory tab if you're not maintaining stock. So that's going to go away. So that's it. Yep. So now let's go ahead and actually process this, and then we can, of course, explore more about this in future tutorials depending on what your requirements are going to be. You can, of course, post the questions you have on the description section, or better, visit my website here and on the contact form, post them there. Or again, you can also go to my the company website here and post them on the contact page. That is all dependent on you. Where you want to put them, I am going to respond to you. So I want us now to go ahead and actually deploy a production server. We have finished this installation and it is successful, but now I want us to deploy a production server. So the first command here is just to copy this as it is. Again, I'm going to stop my my server. Let me clear this to get some room. And then here, the name of our site here is going to be, the site name is going to be Upeosoft.com. And that is going to go ahead and enable the scheduler. And that is done, enabled for that. And I have noticed that I forgot a bracket here. I'm going to add it. Of course, by the time you are going to be seeing this video, it's going to have that bracket. So let me actually go ahead and change that so that people don't get trouble doing that. The next thing is I will log in here and change that. The next thing is of course this command here. Let me go ahead and log in. I normally use WordPress to log in, so this is a WordPress site. This is a WordPress site. WordPress is just wonderful. Well, for now. So I'm going to copy that command again, and then I'm going to put it here. And this is going to be the name of my site again. Remember to put the name of your site here. Mine is Upeosoft.com. Maintenance mode, I don't want it to be on, so this is going to do that in the settings file. Then the next thing is to configure the configuration file. Setup, of course, production config. You're going to do bench setup, sudo bench setup production, and then the name of your Frappe or bench user. So let's go ahead and do that. So paste that there, and then my bench user is actually Frappe. So my password, or the password to Frappe user, is that. So this is now going to go ahead and set up all the requirements that are needed for production to be done. So that is doing its thing. And then the next thing is just to set to restart NGNX. NGNX is what is used as the server, so we need to restart it. That is still doing its thing. Let it complete. Meanwhile, I can just duplicate this, and then I'm going to reload it so that I can access this part down here and change it. Edit post. That is still doing its thing. We can give it time. As we edit this to add a bracket, a closing bracket, we want to add a closing bracket here. So it's still loading. We can just allow it time to finish that. And you can see our production instance is kicking in here heavy. So we allow it time to do all these things it is doing here. That's very, very important to finish. So So this is still loading. My internet today is a nightmare. So here you go. Here you go. Let me see whether this has finished. Yes. Don't worry about that. Scroll down into production and just add a bracket here. That's very important. Then update it, and now you are safe. Everybody is safe. Perfect. This has also completed, and now we can go back to our tutorial here. Copy the nginx start command and run it. If you are prompted, just provide a yes there, and you can see now Upeosoft has been assigned port 80, so we don't need 8000. It's now at 80, which is the default port. And then the next thing is just to go ahead and restart supervisor. Supervisor is what is used to run the processes automatically. That is why when you restart the server, you do not need to manually do a bench start. It does that automatically for you. And then I'm going to do that again and provide a yes and another yes, and we are done. You can see this nginx files have been regenerated successfully, and that's it. According to our tutorial, that should be the end, and wishes you all the best. So if we come here now in the reload, remember here we are on a port. We cannot see this. We need just to remove the port here, the port that is there, we don't need it, and then run it, and our instance should be accessible without a port. And there you are, ERPNext consultancy, and there you will have our instance. If we switch back to desk, you can see now we have ERPNext version 14 installed and working perfectly. So that's great. Now the next thing I would like to just mention to you before I go here is that the next videos are going to be about what is new on version 14. You can see, of course, there is a lot here. The connections that you had here, of course, now you can see there is the other things. If you come to, for instance, chart of accounts, not chart of accounts, let's go to a module like, let's say, customer. You can see here that we have so many changes in these documents. If you look at how this looks, of course, these are totally different from what we had in version 13 and below. If you look at, for instance, even the layout, even the icons that we have here, a lot of things, even this menu, so much has changed in version 14. Even this, how this appears, totally different from what we had. So I'll be doing videos, follow-up videos for version 14 about what's new on version 14. And then I'm also going to be covering a video on how to upgrade to version 14. So among those topics, the topics that you like me to, or you want me to cover quickly, or the ones that you want me to give priority, you can give that on the description section below. Not description section, sorry, but you can put that in the discussion section. Send me a question about that. You can also do a comment on the blog, on my blog here. Okay, just come down here and just leave your comment, and I'm going to be seeing that. Of course, you can also go to the contact page and also drop me an email, or even to the company website and drop me an email here. Don't worry about that, that is fine, and I'll be doing those. All right, so those are the topics that I intend to cover. So make sure, if you have not already subscribed to my channel, make sure you have subscribed so that you do not miss when I release those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I am hopeful that that tutorial has been very, very helpful. Sorry again for how long it has been. I just wanted to make sure that I have explained everything as it should have been explained. Cheers, and I wish you all the best.